So you've probably heard the acronym CSR and ESG being thrown around, right? Especially in the hospitality world. But what do they actually mean? Today, we're going to cut through all the buzzwords and really get to the bottom of how these two ideas are changing the game for hotels and resorts, and why knowing the difference is absolutely essential for your career.
All right, here's our plan. We'll start with CSR. That's kind of the why behind a company's good intentions. Then we'll dive into ESG, which is all about the how we actually measure that impact. I've got a super simple heart versus brain analogy that'll make it all click. Then we'll look at the real-world business reasons this stuff matters, and we'll wrap it all up by connecting it directly to you and your future in hospitality.
Okay, let's kick things off with the foundation, corporate social responsibility, or CSR. You can basically think of this as the soul of a company.
At its core, CSR is really just a company's promise to do good while doing business. It's a pledge to hold itself accountable not just to the people who own stock, but to its employees, the community it operates in, and, well, the public in general.
So, what does that promise actually look like? Well, it really boils down to four main things. Making sure you're acting ethically in every single decision, you're actively supporting your local communities, you're taking real steps to protect the environment, and this one's huge, you're treating your own employees fairly and with respect.
And how does this actually show up in a hotel or a resort? Well, think about a resort that installs solar panels or gets serious about a waste reduction program. You see it in the hotel kitchen that makes a point to buy its food from local farmers. It's those visible things, like organizing a beach cleanup, but it's also the internal stuff, like making sure you're offering fair wages and investing in training for your staff. All of that, that's CSR in action.
So the main takeaway here is pretty simple. CSR is the promise. It's the commitment to be a good corporate citizen. It's all about the values, the intent, but how do you actually prove you're keeping that promise? Well, that's where ESG comes in.
Okay, so if CSR is the promise, then you can think of ESG as the proof. This is where we start talking about data.
ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. And here is the single biggest difference. If CSR is the philosophy, ESG is the cold, hard, data-driven framework. It's how companies actually measure their performance in these areas, making all those sustainability efforts tangible and real for everyone from investors to guests.
This chart just breaks it down perfectly. For the environmental pillar, a hotel goes from just saying it saves energy to tracking the exact kilowatt hours used per guest room. For social, it's not enough to say you're a good employer, it's about measuring training hours and tracking diversity numbers. And for governance, it's about putting your anti-corruption policies out there for everyone to see. It's all about numbers you can actually point to.
So the big takeaway for this section is simple, but it's so important. ESG provides the evidence. It's the report card that proves a business is actually walking the walk. All right, we've got the definitions down. Now for my favorite part, my go-to analogy for remembering the difference. I promise, this'll make it all just click into place.
Here it is, super simple. Think of CSR as the heart and ESG is the brain. The heart, CSR, is all about the passion, the values, the culture. It's the why. It's why a company wants to do good things. The brain, ESG, is the logical, analytical side that measures and reports on how they're actually doing it.
Let's look at this side by side. CSR, the heart, is usually driven from the inside. It's voluntary, it's based on a company's core values. It's all about building a great culture and connecting with the community. ESG, the brain, is much more about external accountability. It's the structured, measurable data that investors, regulators, and even your customers are starting to demand.
And this example just nails it. The CSR initiative, the heart, is the wonderful idea to organize a beach cleanup. The ESG framework, the brain, is what tracks and reports exactly how many kilos of trash were collected, how many employee hours were volunteered, all the data that proves the impact. See how they connect? So look, this isn't about choosing one or the other. It's not a competition. The absolute best companies know you need both. CSR is the engine that drives the culture, the heart, while ESG gives you the dashboard to measure your results. You need both to really make it work. Now you might be thinking, okay, this all sounds great, but why are companies spending so much time and money on this? Well, the answer is pretty straightforward. It is simply good business. Let's start with the people stuff. A real commitment to sustainability isn't just a nice to have, it builds serious brand loyalty. Today's travelers, especially the younger generations, are absolutely voting with their wallets for hotels that are eco-conscious.
And inside the company, it turns you into a magnet for the best talent. People want to work for companies that care, which sends engagement and retention through the roof. That's a huge competitive edge.
And beyond the reputation, there's some serious financial benefits. Investors are now using ESG scores to figure out a company's long-term health, so a strong performance can literally unlock funding. It also keeps you one step ahead of new rules and regulations. And honestly, just the simple act of tracking your energy and water use often reveals massive opportunities to save money. It's about building a smarter, tougher, more resilient business.
Okay, let's bring this all home. Why does any of this matter to you as a future leader in the hospitality world?
Understanding CSR and ESG is basically a professional superpower. It helps you design incredible guest experiences for this growing market of conscious travelers. It gives you the blueprint to run operations that are not just profitable, but also principled. And ultimately, it's the key to building not just a successful business, but a truly meaningful career in a company that is a force for good.
So if you take just one thing away from our explainer today, let it be this. CSR is the heart. ESG is the brain. When you put them together, you get sustainability. And sustainability is, without a single doubt, the future of hospitality. So the real question is, how are you going to use both to make your mark?